What's going on, everyone? So From Season 3 was really about not just reincarnation. Obviously, reincarnation played a big role. You saw with Tabitha as well as Jade, reincarnation of Miranda and Christopher. But also you see kind of this cycle, right, of just iterations or versions of FROMVILLE. And yes, the cycle is changing in a lot of ways, but this cycle likely dates back to the very beginning. Right? And I mean, we know this because of Jade and Tabitha, right? Like they were at one time, whatever their name was, call it John and Mary. At one point, they were a couple that was together that had a daughter, and that daughter they tried to save as well as the other children and failed. And now we're forever destined to repeat that cycle, right? They are now forever destined to try to redeem what was done in the past. And I imagine that all of the other characters in FROMVILLE and all the other people that are in FROMVILLE aren't just there by happenstance, right? They aren't just there by chance or, accident. I imagine that they're all there for a purpose and to serve a purpose, and again, are part of this cycle that is FROMVILLE, whether it's a pocket dimension or a version of hell or whatever it ultimately ends up being. I don't think everything about FROMVILLE is very specific, right? Everything about FROMVILLE is very, purposeful. Right? I mean, even the monsters do the same thing over and over and over again. It's a lot of repetitiveness. Yes, if things are kind of thrown in there, like wrenches are thrown in there, yes, there might be some change, but for the most part, it's very structured. And so if there is this pattern and there is this structure and there is this kind of reoccurring, iterations of FROMVILLE, it would make sense that we're getting that from other areas, such as the man in yellow and the boy in white. I made a video about the man in yellow may have been the one, because somebody or something had to start it all. And going under the assumption that the man in yellow truly is the big bad, truly is the sort of overseer that is the mastermind of FROMVILLE, it had to have started some way, somehow. And that way, I believe, based on the information we have, is through sacrifice and the sacrifice of the boy in white. And that very likely, the boy in white was the man in yellow sacrifice for this immortality. Also, we have all the monsters that sacrificed their children. That's how the children ended up being sacrificed, right? Well, are you just going to take somebody on face value? You're just going to take somebody on just their word? Or would you need to see proof? Well, the man in yellow would be the living proof. Like, hey, I sacrificed my child in order to have this power and this ability, this immortality. You can too have the same if you do the same. And it would also make sense why the boy in white is able to communicate and reveal himself, right? Because he would have been the first. He would have been the first sacrifice. The man in yellow, it's why he might be able to operate during the day and not have the rules that he has to follow, such as the monsters do, right? The talismans might not have effects on him, things like that. Because once again, it's you look at mythology, you look at stories, you look at things, like the first is always different. All these other ones stem by him, right? Like think of Dracula. Dracula doesn't have some of the limitations and whatnot that some of the other that the other vampires have and stuff like that, right? Look at Blade, right? When Dracula came, Blade Trinity, right? Things like that, right? You look at kind of similarities because again, this is a story, this is art, this is film that is being, compiled by multiple different types of mythologies and other films and series and stuff like that. So it would make sense that there would be things that you can piece together and discover through clues. And I just look at, okay, there is this cycle, and the man in yellow and the boy in white were probably the beginning stages of that cycle. The man in yellow and the boy in white, maybe it's whatever the occurrence is that creates FROMVILLE, right? Maybe it is Earth, right? Or it is this pocket dimension or something that maybe the man in yellow stumbled across. I would love, and this is why there's so much potential for like various spin-offs and stuff like that. You could really kind of explore like the man in yellow and his origins, and like how did FROMVILLE become? How did FROMVILLE be, right? And even just like the prequel, you can even do like a prequel film or series or something like that, to where, yeah, we know what the end result is, but how do you get there? How do you get to all the children being sacrificed, and Jade and Tabitha failing, right? Like a lot of different possibilities and potentials. But point being, right, if these two really are the sort of beginning, right? They are the Project One. Well, it would make sense that Victor and Henry could potentially be a version of that. Now, I don't think that they are the reincarnated version, which is why I said a cycle, right? You see this cycle. But the boy in white has taken, friendship with Victor, has also taken friendship with Ethan. And again, you've seen these cycles with families, right? Miranda had 2 children, had, a husband. Right? Like, I imagine that dates back all the way back. We know that Jade and Tabitha were the beginning of it, as far as like the sacrifices of the Ankui children, right? So you have them, that there were a couple and had children. Was it just the daughter? Was there another? I don't know. We'll find out, right? I'm sure we're going to get a lot more information as we move forward. But you have that iteration, and I imagine that you'd have that continuing and progressing throughout this series, right? However many seasons they end up going, we're getting at least season 4. Supposedly they want to do at least 5 seasons, but I wouldn't be shocked if it leads into more. But the point is that, like, I do think there is a reason and a purpose Henry came back to FROMVILLE, or came to FROMVILLE. It didn't come back, but the boy in white brought Henry there for a reason. How do we know the boy in white brought Henry there for a reason? Because Tabitha went through the tree, which we now know she wasn't the one that was meant to go through the tree. Jade was the one that was meant to go through the tree. So Tabitha went through that tree and probably should have died, but didn't. Who did she get help by? The boy in white. What did the boy in white say? Oh, this is the only way. Then she ends up exactly where Henry lives. The boy in white leads her down the path that ultimately leads her to Henry. And we don't think that the boy in white brought Henry back for a purpose. Why else did Tabitha go to the real world? It was I think it was to partly help try to unlock her past and unlock her memories, because she was the reincarnated version of Miranda, his wife. But again, why would he allow Henry to come back too? Why would FROMVILLE bring Henry back too? I think there was a purpose, right? FROMVILLE didn't send Tabitha there and bring her back. The boy in white did. Right? It's why you saw the boy in white helping and showing in the real world and stuff like that, right? Because the boy in white was the one that made the efforts to try to open the door and bring Tabitha with Henry back. Henry, in my opinion, was a key. He was important. He had significance. I don't believe he's just there just to be there. I don't think he's there just so Victor has his father. I think there is purpose. I think there is a reason to that. And I think we're going to kind of unpack this and unravel this in season 4, and maybe even potentially season 5. I think that there are real, genuine correlations between the man in yellow, the boy in white, Henry, and Victor. And I think it's partly this cycle that continues to present itself. But I also think that there is something that is going to present itself. Maybe it is something where maybe Henry has to sacrifice Victor in order to put an end to this type thing, right? Just like the man in yellow had to sacrifice, the boy in white. The boy in white and man in yellow have to be connected. I don't see that going another approach. Whether it is like father and son, or it's like God and the devil, or whatever, right? Like, there's going to be some type of tie-in. There's going to be some type of explanation to that in some capacity, I would imagine. But I also think, again, the boy in white, because the boy in white's the one that knows everything. The boy in white is the one that knows how to stop this, prevent it, how to change it, all of it. Like, he has the answers. So if he the guy that knows everything had Tabitha go on this journey to grab Henry and bring Henry back. I don't think that that was an accident. I don't think he did that just to do that, right? Because it's like, oh, Victor's my friend, and I just, no. Like, Victor, I mean, he won't even help Victor answer some of the questions and stuff and tell him about, tell Christopher what's going on, right? Like, so there's a reason, there's purpose, there's point to it. And I really do think that these kind of four of the man in yellow and the boy in white, along with Henry and Victor, are kind of one and the same. I think that they are, in many ways, the same. Just Henry and Victor are now this iteration of that. Maybe we even find out a dark secret. What if we do? What if we find out some dark secret that, like, Henry purposefully did this? And Henry purposely sent Miranda down the path that would ultimately go there. What if Henry was the one that first had the dreams or visions or something like that, right? I mean, there's a million ways to go about it. What if the man in yellow was the one that kind of connected to Henry, right? Like, there's so many ways that they could go down this path, and I'm really excited to see how they go down this path. But point is that I do think that there are these similarities. I do think that there are these tie-in and connections. But as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yes, there's clearly a connection? Do you think that, like, no, there's not, like, they're just different characters, different, purposes, different points? There's just so many patterns. There's so many things that are very purposeful. So I don't think that, assuming that the man in yellow and the boy in white are, have some tie-in, father and son type thing, it would make sense that Victor and Henry might have some similarities, right? Now, why does the man in yellow look so old compared to the boy in white? Well, I mean, maybe it's a grandfather thing, whatever, right? There's a million ways that they go about it. Or it could just be because this place is changing, right? Maybe the man in yellow wasn't. I mean, Miranda's picture of the man in yellow wasn't old, right? Like, he was younger. So maybe it's because this place is changing. But anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.